Hi und herzlich willkommen im Neuanfang Podcast, dem Podcast für Transformation. Ich heiße Sarah Heinen und bin Coach und Teacher für Selbstliebe, Selbstfürsorge und Selbsterkenntnis. Ich eröffne dir den Weg, dich selbst leiten und lieben zu lernen, um aktiv ein Leben zu erschaffen, das mehr und mehr deinem wahren Selbst entspricht. Im Neuanfang-Podcast unterstütze ich dich mit Gesprächen, Ideen und Übungen bei deiner Transformation hin zu deinem magischen inneren Kern. Denn je mehr du diesen inneren Kern kennenlernst und dein wahres Selbst lebst, desto mehr wirst du dein Sein lieben und deine Bestimmung leben.
I think that's one mistake some people make with human design. And there are a lot of human design practitioners out there, I think, that perpetuate this message of live your human design and things will be easy. Live your human design and you will be rich. Live your human design and you will have an explosive business. All of these claims. And it's like, that's not the point at all. The point is to surrender. The point is to cultivate the deepest, most profound self-trust and compassion, and to allow yourself to be moved, to stop trying to move and just be moved. And in that process, and in that surrendering, you trust that whatever the path is correct.
Das ist Krystal Woods. Sie ist meine Human Design Mentorin und ich verdanke ihr wirklich ein ganz neues Lebensgefühl. Vor allem in Bezug auf mein Business, das ich durch meine Human Design Learnings inzwischen noch viel radikaler an meinen eigenen Wünschen und Bedürfnissen ausrichte. Krystal ist Coach für Business und Leadership Energetics und Human Design Embodiment. Das heißt, sie begleitet Menschen und vor allen Dingen Entrepreneure dabei, ihr eigenes Human Design und ihre individuelle Energie zu verkörpern und diese Erfahrung dann an die eigenen KundInnen weiterzugeben. Sie ist zweifache Mutter, führt ein erfolgreiches Business nach ihren eigenen Regeln. Sie war professionelle Tänzerin und hat Psychologie studiert. Ich liebe Krystal nicht nur für ihre interessante Geschichte und ihr Wissen, sondern vor allen Dingen für ihre Energie, ihre Authentizität und als Vorbild dafür eben die eigenen Bedürfnisse im Business an erste Stelle zu setzen. Wir sprechen über die große Transformation, die Krystal gerade durchlebt, ihre Geschichte und den Moment, als Human Design in ihr Leben gekommen ist. Sie erklärt, was es bedeutet, sein Human Design zu verkörpern und warum das der entscheidende Faktor in der Arbeit mit diesem System ist. Du bekommst ein paar Ideen dafür, wie du dein eigenes Human Design Experiment beginnen kannst und welches Potenzial das für dein Leben hat. Wenn Human Design ganz neu für dich ist, empfehle ich dir, vor dem Weiterhören den Human Design Einsteiger Guide auf meiner Webseite durchzulesen bzw. das entsprechende Video zu schauen, damit du uns in diesem Gespräch besser folgen kannst. Ich verlinke dir den Guide natürlich in den Shownotes. Das Gespräch, wie du im Intro schon gehört hast, ist auf Englisch und ich wünsche dir jetzt ganz viel Freude bei diesem Interview mit Krystal Woods. Hi, Krystal. I am super excited to have you on and to see you again because we already spent like 3 months together this year, seeing each other twice a week within a coaching container that we're maybe going to talk about too today. So I'm happy we made this happen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. You know, I always love a good conversation with you and I have missed you.
Yeah, I miss you too. And I always start my podcast with a minute of gratitude. And if I have a guest, I ask my guest. So what are you grateful for right now?
Oh my goodness. I'm so grateful that my family is healthy and happy and safe. And I'm also super grateful today for my new car that I bought this week. It is like, I love it so much more than I thought that I would. It's so pretty and perfect. And yeah, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, and I feel it's absolutely okay because sometimes people seem to be like, oh, I can't be grateful for material things. But I mean, they are a blessing too sometimes.
Yeah.
And we can indulge in them if we want to.
Oh yeah. I'm a Taurus sun and like, I'm totally in the mode right now of just embracing the fact that I've always been a little bit material. I'm also a third line. I'm here for the material world, you know? So Yeah, it just sitting in this new car, I mean, it changes my entire vibe in the morning. So I'm so grateful for that car.
I mean, and if a car can do that, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, it does. It is pretty.
So you already mentioned your third line, and we're definitely going to talk about human design because that is your field of expertise. But before that, I would like to dive a bit into your own history and in your current situation, because this podcast is all about transformation. And I know you are going through some major ones right now. And if you're open to sharing, what are your blessings beside the car right now? And what are the struggles that you're facing or have been facing within the last few months?
Yeah, so I think towards the end of Embodied Entrepreneur, the coaching program that you were in with me, I announced to the group that our family was going to be picking up and leaving Hawaii. So I spent 9 years living in Hawaii. I'm originally from the East Coast, US, which is over 5,000 miles away from Hawaii. So, in my early 20s, I just picked up and left and went to Hawaii, and I finished my degree there, and I met Michael, who's my partner now, and we have 2 children now, and we created a life there. And so that announcement was huge. It was also, Hawaii was what healed me. I was a different person when I went there. I was totally lost, a total just mess. I didn't know anything about anything. And so, not that I have it all together now, but I feel like Hawaii was this place that, yes, I did run away to, but I needed to get away from everyone and everything that I had always known. I needed to be so shaken to my core with something new that I had no choice but to rebuild. And through that rebuilding process, I really did just kind of find my path. Of course, becoming a mother was a huge part of that. But, the day that we left Hawaii, I just kind of looked around and oh my God, I'm getting emotional. I just felt so much gratitude for this place. It really did heal me and showed me so much about who I really am. And so the past few months, we've been transitioning from this life that we built into a completely new one. And in that process, we've been staying with family. And I don't know, I know you know this, but staying with family, it really does bring up your past selves, right? Every version of yourself that you were when you lived in this place or you lived with these people, it's staring at you in the face, right? So these people in my life have been a mirror for the parts of myself that haven't been loved as much by me, right? These parts of myself that I really did want to run away from when I left to go to Hawaii. Now it's like I'm back and I feel like a different person, but I'm being faced with so many of these things. And so it's really been this process of, rather than distract, rather than numb, rather than run away, which is what I have always done, just sitting here in the discomfort and facing all of these parts of myself and realizing that I'm where I am, not in spite of, but because of my past. So facing these parts of myself that I've held so much shame around and loving myself through the whole process, it's really just kind of cracked me open, and it's made me lean into these parts of myself, like being emotional, being on these emotional waves and not identifying with every single point on my emotional wave, just realizing that my emotions are here to teach me something, to show me something, and just staying curious and staying open. So I think the umbrella over all of the mini transitions that I'm going through, right? Like finding a new place to live and finding a car to drive and finding a community and all these micro pieces of my life, the umbrella over all of them has been this theme of face it and love it. Face it and love it just as it is. I don't have to fix it in order to love it. I don't have to fix myself in order to love myself. I'm whole already. I don't need to fill any holes. I don't need to fix anything. I can love every single part of myself, even the parts of myself that I'm like, ooh, is this an old pattern that's coming up again? I can't do that again. It's like, well, maybe I need to right now. Maybe I need to just explore this and see. So I guess curiosity and grace and openness, this has all been just a whole new level of transformation for me. It's no more bypassing, no more fixing, no more chasing, no more anything, just sitting with it. And, you know, owning a business through this process has been, I thought that it would really stress me out, but it's almost been my anchor, right? It's like, my business has been this thing that constantly reminds me that I'm not the same person that I was. I own a successful business that I built from nothing, and I have clients to serve, and I have a community to show up for. And that is a sacred responsibility that I'm in love with. And it's anchored me in this really surprising way. So yeah, this is a really long-winded answer to your question, I realize, but as I said before we started recording, I'm still integrating exactly what's been happening, but yeah, just that curiosity and that embodiment of all the pieces of me that have been scattered all around the world, just picking them up and, you know, realizing that they're all a part of me, you know?
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you answered in this way, because I'm actually diving deeper into IFS right now, internal family systems. So there it's all about those parts and loving those parts from the position of the self that is pure, that is compassionate, that is curious, and all the things that you talked about. And I think this is such a valuable concept for people to understand, even if it's not in a professional context, because we all have those parts, and that's nothing to be afraid of. And that's nothing that is bad or even like to be labeled sick or whatever. Everybody has those parts, and it's so important and so liberating to getting to know all these parts, and especially, as you said, the ones that you neglected and the ones that you left behind when you left your family and went to Hawaii. And yeah, thank you for sharing this. And I mean, I don't know if there's this saying in English also, but if you feel you're enlightened, go and live with your family for a week.
Exactly. Yes. It's like all those. I was talking to my mom. My mom's actually a therapist. You know, so she and I have great conversations, but am I seeing myself clearly? Like, I don't feel like I'm seeing myself clearly. I mean, undefined G center, right? So I don't know, right? So I'm like, am I seeing myself clearly? Because I feel like I'm falling back into old patterns. I feel like I'm falling back into this old version of myself. Do you see it? She's like, no, I don't see it. I see quite the opposite, actually. I see you feeling things and choosing something different. And so I think she was like, I think what's happening is you feel these different parts of yourself coming up. You feel familiar feelings around certain people and around certain dynamics, energy dynamics, family dynamics. And so it feels like you're living out these patterns again, but you're not, because you're choosing differently than you ever have. It just feels familiar. And that made a lot of sense to me. And it's something I've been reflecting on recently. It's hard to see that when you're so clouded by this energy, you know, and after being away from it for so long, it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks when I came back. So yeah, it's been a journey the past few months for sure. And, you know, my routine is just, there's no routine. And that for me with my left arrows, you know, I'm like, I feel a little bit shaky, but I just find comfort in the fact that I've always got my back and I'll always be there for me. And yeah, that's like really been the most comforting thing to know is like, I'll look at myself in the mirror and be like, I got you. Like, no matter what, even if you are falling back into old patterns, I still got you. Even if you are ashamed of these parts of yourself, I still got you. Even if you don't have a routine, I got you, you know? And I've never done that for myself before.
Yeah. And that's an experience that no one ever can take away from you. You will, because it's a visceral experience and you will take that with yourself wherever you go and whatever transformation will happen in the future.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And one thing that you shared a few weeks ago, I think that was right before you left Hawaii, that really hit me was this holding several realities or truths at the same time. On one hand, you were super sad to leave Hawaii. On the other hand, you were excited and happy about the change that is coming and everything without knowing what really would be happening. And this like holding multiple truths is a concept that I myself and also for my community, I start to talk about more and embody more, not only with different truths within yourself, but also your own truth and other people's truth. For example, with everything that's happening in the world, and because it can be so devastating and people can get like paralyzed by it, but holding your truth in the here and now, your life in whichever probably first world country you're living in, and also the truth of other people that experience horrible things and having compassion for them, but also not immersing yourself completely in their reality because you are neglecting your own. And I find this concept like super interesting and valuable. And maybe you could say a few words how that works for you, or maybe how that was different in the past within yourself or with realities. That's such a difficult word for a German tongue. Outside of yourself. And how you got there to be able to hold multiple truths at the same time.
Yeah, actually, one mentor who was really pivotal in this for me was Tori Washington. And I found her, I want to say maybe 6 months ago or so. And I was drawn to her immediately, also emotional manifester. And so she talks a lot about, sometimes we say, oh, I'm really sad, but I'm also blah, blah, blah. And we use this word but all the time. And it's almost like this or that, And whatever she was talking about, it was some video I was watching. She basically said, like, remove this word but and replace it with and. Expand your capacity to hold more, right? Hold more truths, because think about it, just from a human design perspective alone, I have read hundreds of charts. No two charts were the same. No two people are the same. You can grow up in the same household with the same parents, have the same exact experiences, but you will see it through a different lens. Therefore, every single person's truth is different. We might agree on some things, but we still see it through a different lens. And so if that's true, it can't be this or that. It has to be and. It has to be all the things. And on a personal level, yeah, I'm so sad. I'm so grieving our old life. I'm grieving the comfort. I'm a first line. I'm a Taurus. I'm so earthy. I'm grieving that stability, that safety, that comfort on so many levels. Like, I was crying in the shower last night, just thinking about how Matt's, my son's old school, in Hawaii. They had their first day of school yesterday. Oh my gosh, I'm crying, like just grieving the fact that we're not there, that he's not with his friends. And at the same time, feeling so excited for his kindergarten orientation tomorrow. And he's going to meet his new friends and he's going to see his new school. We're so excited about it, you know, excited about these possibilities. It's both. It's not this or that. And when we can look at that on a larger scale, when you can look at that in your business, you know, I'm so frustrated that I'm not farther along. And I'm so excited for where I'm at right now. It's both. I'm so proud of myself for where I am right now, right? And then when you look at it on that macro level, like you just said, it's, you know, without getting political about it, but it's like, I see your side and I see your side and I see your side. You know, I have an open head, so I see it all. Like, I get it. You know, it doesn't have to be this or that. It doesn't have to be black or white. And our capacity to hold more truths, it creates this really powerful clarity and confidence. That's what I'm experiencing anyway with it. It's like this releasing this pressure, releasing this need to be right. Because the more you have this pressure on you to be right, the more you're going to feel wrong. You know, if you can only hold one truth at a time, that means you're wrong most of the time. You're making yourself wrong. But if you can hold all these truths at once, you don't have to make yourself wrong. They can all be right. You know?
This is so powerful. Yeah. And I actually never thought about it from that perspective, because I work in coaching. I work a lot with women who feel they have to be perfect. But what's perfect? Besides the fact that perfect doesn't exist, whose perfect is it? Is it yours or is it someone else's? And that's why I think it's so powerful when you say, if you think that your truth is the only truth and everybody else's is wrong, then yeah, you're always like one person against what are we, like 8 billion people on the planet?
Right. And what about when you do something that's not in alignment with what you deem right? Or what if you change your mind? You're going to have this subconscious shame around it because you believe that that way was the only way. And now you're doing things differently. You're holding yourself back. You're chaining yourself to this outdated version. In order to expand, in order to grow, in order to transform, you have to allow yourself to die over and over again, all these different versions of yourself. And if you're clinging so tightly to one truth, it's going to be really hard for you to do that. How are you going to grow? How are you going to expand? How are you going to evolve? You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. I love your Freak to Genius channel. That's something we share in our Human Design. And I knew if you're going to bring Krystal on, there are some golden nuggets in there. Definitely.
You're the best. I love yours too.
So you sprinkled a bit of Human Design into, because it's so second nature to you. It's like, it's within your DNA, I feel, that you say you have an open head, you have first line, third line. And for everybody who's new to Human Design, I refer you to my article and video about that. I'm going to put that in the show notes, because maybe for some people it's what are you talking about? But before we dive into Human Design, I would like you to share the moment that Human Design came into your life, what shifted in that moment, and what shifted afterwards.
Oh my goodness. So my son was really little. We were driving the car, and it was around that time that I started following To Be Magnetic. I don't know if you follow Lacey Phillips. So she's a manifestation guide. And I was just starting to dip my toes into her work, which is so powerful. And I listened to the first podcast episode, and it was an interview with Jenna Zoe, who's another human design person. And she's describing the different human design types. And I just had this visceral feeling in my body. And then I had a release. Like, I was sobbing. My son was sleeping in the back seat. I'm trying to drive and I'm like crying just listening to this episode. And it's so funny because I actually thought I was a projector initially. Everything they were saying about projectors, wanting to be seen and being these guides and really seeing other people. And I was like, wow, I really resonate with that. And then when I learned I was a manifester, I was like, oh no, definitely not me. Initiating, no. And then I thought more about it and I thought, well, interesting, because when I think about my business, at that point, I was working in an MLM, like a multi-level marketing company.
So like network marketing.
Network marketing, yeah. And I was nothing was really happening. And then around that time is when I decided to start my business. It was like something started to shift within me. I started to think about myself as a child. And I grew up with a really controlling parent, right? And as a manifester, I think right from the get-go, when I was a baby, I think that was really, really affected me a lot. And so when I started reading about the conditioning of a manifester, that's when things started to click. That's when I started to be like, oh my gosh, well, perhaps this is why things haven't been moving in my business, because I've been waiting for things to come to me. I've been waiting for other people to recognize me. I've been waiting for other people to invite me. And I'll never forget, it was a couple years ago in the summer, and I just started to experiment with this. So, well, if I feel like I want to do something, maybe I'll just kind of do it and see what happens. And I reached out to Gala Darling, who I love. She had posted something in her stories about human design and about being a manifesting generator, which she's actually not. And I sent her a message and I was like, I would love to do a human design reading for you. And she was like, oh my God, yeah. I lost my you know what, because I love her so much. I'm obsessed with her. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do a reading for Gala Darling. And that was the first moment that I was like, maybe there's something to this, and I mean, everything has shifted. The way that I be in my family as a manifester, I stopped waiting around for my partner to decide what we're going to do for the day. He's a manifesting generator. He doesn't want to decide. He wants me to decide, and then he wants to respond. Same thing with my son as a generator. The way that I parent, the way that I be in relationship, and then learning that I was emotional authority. And then my business, it has been so liberating time and time and time again. Every time I have doubted myself to say, of course, what I'm doing is weird. Of course, what I'm doing doesn't make sense. Of course, no one's going to get it at first. Of course, it's been so liberating for me to be like, okay, yeah, the first time I launch a new thing, it might not do that well because people aren't going to get it right away. No one's ever done it this way. And as soon as I find myself copying something, it's like, I have to check myself. So I can't even begin to go through the list of all the ways in which human design has gifted me, but it's been wild. And from the first moment that I met human design, it made complete sense to me. The first time I looked at a chart, it made complete sense to me. And I know that's not the norm. So I know I was meant to find it. It's changed every single part of my life. Everything. I know you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, funny enough, for me, it was not the same. It was the first time, I think I looked at my human design chart twice in like with a couple of years in between. And I always put it aside because it was like, oh, that looks like super complicated and I don't understand anything. Okay, I'm going to close it again. And the universe had to knock on my door, a few times more. But looking back, I can totally see why, because I just wouldn't have been ready like a few years ago, accepting this kind of information about myself. And now when I found human design, it was like, oh my God, there's everything that I experienced within the last 10 years. It's all in there. And that is such an empowering feeling, like feeling so seen and feeling like, okay, even my path was a little bit like unusual. It was all meant to be. And and I wouldn't have been open to this kind of information a few years ago. So I think whenever people stumble into human design and feel the urge to dive deeper, that's always the point where they're meant to meet this system.
I totally agree. It's definitely really overwhelming for a lot of people. And I was just talking about this yesterday on a live video, actually. I'm like, not everyone's meant to learn everything there is to know about human design. You know, like it's not correct for everybody. And that's okay. You know, some people just want to learn about their type and that's enough. Some people just want to learn about their strategy and authority. And that's really all that you need. You know, you don't need anything else. But, you know, of course, it's so eye-opening and really fun for me. And I know for you to learn about all the different things. But yeah, I think when I started to go deeper and I started to even look at profile, and that was really liberating for me too, to just stop overthinking, stop being so paralyzed, stop being overcome by imposter syndrome and realize, you know, I do have that third line. It's going to be messy. It's just, I'm messy and it's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be refined. It doesn't have to be anything other than what it is, you know? And I think that's one mistake some people make with human design. And there are a lot of human design practitioners out there, I think, that perpetuate this message of live your human design and things will be easy. Live your human design and you will be rich. Live your human design and you will have an explosive business, all of these claims. And it's like, that's not the point at all. The point is to surrender. The point is to cultivate the deepest, most profound self-trust and compassion, and to allow yourself to be moved, to stop trying to move and just be moved. And in that process and in that surrendering, you trust that whatever the path is correct. Even if your business fails, even if you are broke for a couple of years, even if it's messy, like it's still correct because you're surrendering and you're trusting, and you don't have to waste all your energy doubting and second guessing and waffling, you know? That to me is the whole point, is the deep self-trust and the allowing yourself to be guided, to be moved, you know?
Like you said before, looking in the mirror and being able to say, like, from the bottom of your heart, I got you.
Yeah.
Whatever is going to happen, we can deal with that.
Yeah. I love you and I got you.
Yeah.
It's good. We're good. We're just going to go. We're just doing it. You know what I mean? We're just in the body. We're
Absolutely.
in the body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel? Because we talked a bit about that before we started, that many people who click with human design, who have this moment, they want to know all the answers. They want to know all the details. I mean, there are like endless details of the human design chart. You can learn for years on end, and you won't understand everything. So because I feel a lot of the information, especially if you also put gene keys into the mix, every time I read one of those texts, and I haven't read the original Ging, I know you do that, I feel every time I read one of those texts, it's different. It's never the same because I am not the same. So yeah, you can learn for probably the rest of your life. And still there is these basic components that you mentioned, type, strategy, authority, maybe profile. That's everything that you need to know to begin. And I feel that for many people, human design is this rabbit hole where they want to dive deep into. I was the same. But how do you feel how can human design support us in our embodiment, and how it can also maybe steer us away because we want to know everything and it's still a very mental process?
I think the most important thing to realize is that, like you said before, if you are feeling guided, if you as a generator are expanding and feeling really excited about studying human design, trust that, right? Trust the response. If it's coming from a place of, oh, I need to know everything so that I can share on my Instagram and people will like my posts, and, if it's more an ego thing or a mind thing, just watch for that, Again, speaking as a third line, sometimes you have to learn the hard way. Oh, maybe I went a little too deep, too fast, and that's cool, right? Whatever. I don't think there's any right or wrong way to learn. I think you really just, embodiment to me is having this deep, visceral trust in yourself and in your path. It's being very deeply connected to the body. For me, human design has been the biggest piece of me finding that connection to myself, to my body, and surrendering it from that seat. That's, other people use other tools, but as soon as you find yourself feeling that like shaky kind of, I don't want to say anxious, but it's just not a grounded feeling. And I see it in a lot of people. They just want to consume, but they never want to sit down and really reflect on it. They never want to sit down and experiment with it, right? In my certification program that I'm enrolling for right now, I'm giving them embodiment experiments for every week because I realized, it really does have to be a holistic learning experience. And the way that you gain that holistic experience is going to look different depending on who you are. But yeah, like sit with it. Just calm the F down. Just chill and think about what you just read. Think about how that applies to you. Think about how that applies to your kids or your partner or your mom or your dad. It's like this reflection and this integration. And then the embodiment comes when you really start to experiment with this stuff. And some people never get to that point, and no judgment, but certainly, trying to teach and coach and guide other people through that process. If you haven't done it yourself, I wonder if that's, ethically correct, but that's their thing. So, I do think that the integration and embodiment piece of human design is like, that's the whole bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's like basically with every other modality or tool or every book they read, every podcast episode that you listen to, it's always nice to be inspired, but things are not going to change just by inspiration. They are going to change if you, as you said, start to integrate that information and sit with it and work with it and starting to embody it. And that's, I feel like many people, especially in the self-development sphere, whatever you want to call it, they are just like hunting for book after book, course after course, because it's like, it seems like an easy fix, and then they're frustrated because it's not the easy fix. And so they rather go to the next course instead of really digesting and implementing what they learned in the first course.
Exactly. And we really do play with the not self of the open head and ajna, I think, in a lot of common marketing practices, I think, really kind of prey on that. And what I've realized is, manifestation, it's so interesting because manifestation, we've talked about this a few times, and I think like every time I talk about manifestation, I have a different point of view, but manifestation is one of these like huge topics right now, has been for a little bit. And what I've realized, the more that I've focused on embodiment and really questioned what that actually means, the more I realize manifestation is just a byproduct of you being a different version of yourself, And yeah, you can say like, oh, I want this or I want that. But again, when you're really deeply trusting your path and you're really deeply trusting yourself and you're really deeply trusting that you're constantly being guided to what's correct for you, you can say, oh, I want this, I want that, I'm manifesting this, I'm manifesting that. But you're also like, the letting go is just inevitable because yeah, right now I want that, but I'm also open to whatever is coming my way, or I'm also open to being moved in a different direction. And the manifestation is just when you become that clear, confident, just clean frequency version of yourself, the manifestation of your deep soul desires is inevitable, isn't it? It just is. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to put a timeline on it. You don't have to like manic manifest. I'm like with all the affirmations and like, I love affirmations. I love all the manifestation practices. I think they're helpful. But when we attach so much to these practices, I think we lose sight of what the real point is. And the real point, again, is like the trust and the embodiment piece. Like it's not that I'm doing things to be some different version of myself. I'm actually just being myself.
Yeah.
Like truly.
Yeah. I mean, it's more about peeling back the layers. It's less about like having a vision and running towards that vision. And I feel like so many people, myself included, in the past and still sometimes today, I get so like looking for everything on the outside, but it's the other way around. And I feel human design is such a great tool to support us on that journey, because learning, as you told in your own story, learning certain things that you are, in quotes, supposed to live according to your human design, like, for example, the manifestor initiating. And I think these informations can start a process within yourself, a process of contemplation, a process of experimentation. And that's, I feel, the way that human design can support us in embodiment and coming back to our true self and into this trust that you're talking about, and into manifestation as a byproduct, because everything that's supposed to come to you, to your true version of yourself, will come, and everything that doesn't come wasn't supposed to be for you, or not in this way, or not in this timeline.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, I mean, we have been looking for a place to live and looking for a car and all these different things. And I've realized, and I talked about this just a few minutes ago. I really do tie my safety and stability to the material plane. And this has been tested. Like, I've been tested, this belief, this way of being, because it is a way of being that I'm currently embodying. I really do still tie these things together. And I know that I'm being asked to find safety and stability in my own body, in my own family, and relax and stop trying so hard and stop pushing and forcing and rushing and controlling and clinging and all of these things. Because I've learned how to do that in a lot of different areas of my life and in a lot of different circumstances. But this one feels so much bigger because it's, my basic survival needs. So it's like, it's been an interesting test of that trust for sure. And I think there's never going to be a time when that trust won't be tested. Like there's never this destination that you reach where you're like, okay, I fully trust forever and ever. It doesn't happen that way. It's like, there's always some new level, new devil, right? There's always another test. But the tests become so much easier to navigate when you have cultivated some of that trust and you have peeled back some of those layers and you really do know who you are, I know you know.
Yeah. But I think we can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
And I would love for us to get a little bit practical because we have been talking and I love going deep with you on this stuff, that, on a meta level. But because you talked about experiments that you also implemented in your certification program. What are 1, 2, 3, however you want to share it, little experiments that people can start when they just find out their type, their strategy, their authority? Because I feel only those like 3 informations can be overwhelming. What can be like 1, 2, 3 experiments that people can start trying out in their day-to-day life?
So I want to give a little credit to my mentor, Kip Winsett. He's one of the OG human design analysts. And when I started studying with him, he immediately had me order the I Ching, which is this ancient Chinese text. And a lot of human design has been influenced by the I Ching. So he has me order this book. And then basically my homework was to every day, this text is it has been used as an oracle text. So every day, use this as an oracle text and basically look for examples of whatever hexagram, or in human design speak, gate. So you have all these 64 gates. So all those numbers on your body graph, these are all based on the hexagrams of the I Ching. So I would choose one per day and I would go about my day kind of like trying to embody the energy of that. And this really inspired me on so many levels because it really did take the knowledge from my head and bring it into my life. And that's where the embodiment happens, when you really start to live it and you start to see it in your life. And so I think when we're talking about type and strategy and authority, it's the same. It's, read about being a generator. I mean, right away, that this connection to this sacral response is key. And so getting really honest with yourself and asking, how connected am I to my body right now? How connected am I to my aura's response? Do I even know what that feels like? Do I know what a yes feels like? Do I know what a no feels like? And start to notice throughout your day if you can feel into that response. As a projector, can you take a breath and relax and not give that person unsolicited advice? Can you wait for them to ask you for advice? It's like these very simple shifts, but every single time you take a breath and you respond differently, you're creating a new pathway. And usually that pathway is much more in alignment with who you really are instead of who you have been conditioned to be. And it's really powerful, especially now, because I think a lot of us, our intuition, our bodies have been overridden and overstimulated by everything that's going on in the world and the way that our governments are handling what's going on in the world, you know? And so getting back in touch with your body through these different pieces of your human design, it's not just about being, you know, successful in your business. It's not just about, you know, embodiment. It's also this bigger picture of, well, what is my truth? And am I allowed to have a different truth from their truth? You know, it's really, really powerful. So I would say, you know, as a generator, definitely connecting to that sacral. Manifestors, when you learn about being a manifestor and you learn about informing and initiating, you know, just bring that into your life and notice, where are you not informing on how you feel or your boundaries or what you want to do or what you're going to do? Where are you still asking for permission? Just start to notice these things first. And then ask yourself, how can I shift this? How can I experiment with this? How can I play? How can I be curious? I know for me as a manifestor, I was very resistant to informing in the beginning, you know, especially in my household. My manifestor mentor, Bar Altschuler, she was like, you know, you've got to inform, over-inform. Keep telling them. I'm like, I should be able to just tell them once. She's like, well, you're going to be really angry then if you think that's how it's going to work. And she was right. So, you know, experimenting with informing, it's, you know, now it's second nature to me. And I don't ask for permission anymore most of the time. I'm just saying, you know, this is what I want to do. You want to do it too? No? Okay, bye. See ya. Fine. Like, I'm out. Whatever, you know, I'm not here to placate. I'm not here to ask for permission. I'm not here to override what I want to do because of what somebody else wants to do or doesn't want to do, you know? So like just these small shifts as a manifestor or as a generator or as a projector and reflectors. I mean, I think for a lot of reflectors, it's like, what do you mean wait 28 days to make a decision? But the power in just relaxing and not forcing yourself to be spontaneous, like these seemingly small shifts are huge, like huge. It's really, again, I'm going to keep saying self-trust because it's having trust in your body and in yourself to be guided when the time is right instead of trying to force it. It's life-changing.
Yeah.
And that's just type and strategy. Like when you talk about authority, oh my God, 50% of the population, 50% of the people listening to this have emotional authority. And I'm willing to bet that most of them make snap decisions based on their emotions. When you learn to ride out your emotional wave and not make snap decisions, you're going to make a lot of decisions that surprise you. And it's going to feel a whole lot better because you're not going to have that moment of regret. Oh, why did I say yes to that? It was super exciting yesterday, but now I really don't want to do it.
Yes, that was a big game changer for me, or still is, because sometimes you fall back into these old patterns, but because I also have the defined sacral that is online too, and that is directly connected to the solar plexus, to the emotional center. And that's like my solar plexus, my sacral says, yes, let's do it. And the emotional authority is like, yeah, let's wait a little more. Let's wait another day. Yeah. But the times that I had to cancel afterwards, like after telling someone, yeah, I'm going to see you on the weekends, or canceling a collaboration somebody wants to do with me. Because I didn't wait before I said yes. It's so much more comfortable to say upfront, hey, let me sleep on it. I'm going to get back to you tomorrow or a few days later. Then afterwards saying, I said yes, but I kind of changed my mind. So yeah, that alone is such a big game changer.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, it's just like this small shift of being like, let me get back to you. Just that one sentence will change your life as emotional authority. Because I mean, I have had clients who have taken jobs at the height of their emotional wave, and 3 months down the line, they're like, this is awful. What was I doing? Like, not to say that that's never going to happen if you do follow that authority, but it's a double whammy, because it's, oh my gosh, I hate this. And I should have listened to my intuition, or I should have taken my time. I should have felt this out, or whatever. You know, it's not only do you not like it, but you're also questioning everything and second guessing everything because you didn't wait until you had clarity. You know, when you have the clarity, I mean, it's very rare that I go back on things, especially because I commit to probably less than half of the things that I used to commit to. I am that family member who will not say that I'm coming. I just won't. I'll be like, I'll let you know, like the day before. And I don't know, I'm sure people get frustrated with me, but like, I'd rather disappoint them than disappoint myself and end up in a situation that sucks, or like not feel like being there. And then no one wants to be around me anyway. So like, you know,
and I mean, every time you're going against your intuition, you actually betraying that self-trust that we've been talking about.
Exactly. And then it's like double the work to pull yourself out of that place. So yeah, it's just, you're going to disappoint people when you start to, you know, live your design or experiment with the things that you learn about your human design. A lot of times it's like this, it's a radical change, and there are going to be radical consequences. I talk about this all the time. Like, oh, I'm going to live my design. It's not cute. A lot of the time, it's not cute. Okay. It's like a death of who you thought you were, time and time and time again, not just for you, but also for the people around you who have known you forever. It takes a lot of commitment to yourself to do that. And not everyone's going to do that right away. Not everyone's just going to say, you know, okay, this is it. I'm an emotional manifester, and this is how I'm going to live my life now. I mean, I kind of dove right in, but I realized that's not correct for everybody either. It's just, you can't expect that it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows because you're living your design. It's going to be a mess. There are going to be consequences, you know, like, but it's disappoint others, or it's disappoint yourself. It's be questioned by others or question yourself. You know, you have to choose you.
Yeah. And I feel that's a question that starts popping up in different contexts. Is it very selfish to live your human design?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I just feel like we're all part of a big puzzle. And each of our pieces look a little bit different. And every time we try to look like a different piece, we don't quite fit into the puzzle, and we know it, we feel it. Isn't it better for everyone if we just embrace our own piece? Because then we can all come together and form this big, beautiful puzzle where everyone gets to be themselves. So on the micro level, it's selfish. On the macro level, is it? No,
absolutely not. And I feel like, I mean, it's probably still utopia, but I dream of a world where everybody is living their design.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and, you know, we teach parents and adults now so that they can teach their children. And we kind of, you know, we wade through all the layers of lineage trauma and patterns. You know, every time we commit to our own healing and commit to being our own puzzle piece, you know? And I used to say, oh my gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry. Maybe it'll come back to me. My open head, it's like thoughts come in and then they just go right out. I'll see if it comes back.
It's a two-way street. But I feel it's this, like everything or how humans are conditioned and, I even want to say manipulated, in current times, especially in the Western world. I feel it's so important that we all come back to our intuition, because there is this place of, below all the layers, there is this place of self-trust, and only, at least from my experience and the experience with my clients, only when you gain that self-trust are you able to trust other people. And only if you explore your own wounds and your own layers that you have to peel back, your own parts that we've been talking about, are you able to be compassionate for other people's parts and wounds and layers. And so that's the answer I always give when people ask me, you are working with clients on self-love and self-care. Isn't that very selfish? I say, yeah, it might be for a little time that you have to, like, maybe even pull yourself back out from the world into your home, into your safe container, and explore yourself, get to know yourself, care for yourself. But in my own experience, and I see it time and time again with my clients, especially if they are a little bit further on their path, they come to this point where compassion for others, where service to others is the natural development that occurs. Because if your cup is full, there's no other way that you have the urge to give, to be a serving part of humanity. And so I don't feel it's selfish at all. Yeah, maybe for a little bit of time, and maybe you will have a few fallouts with people in your surroundings, maybe with family, partners, whoever. But I see it always as this teaching process, teaching yourself how to work with yourself, how to be yourself, but then also teaching the people around you. Because let's take boundaries. I mean, so many people have issues setting boundaries because nobody taught us, and everybody has like the free reins to step each other's boundaries. But if you start to set your boundaries, people might be pissed at the beginning, but those are the people that did benefit from you not having boundaries in the first place. So you have to teach your partner, your family, your kids. And also with human design, if you start to embody your design and all of a sudden you don't make decisions right away, you always say, give me a few days time, I'm going to get back to you. People might be offended or might be confused, but that's like part of the process, I think.
I thought of what I was going to say, and it goes perfectly with what you just said. And it's, I almost look at it like I'm doing someone else a favor when I tell them no, when I set a boundary, because I'm holding this standard and I'm setting an example for them, right? Because if they're triggered by me saying no, if they're triggered by me holding a boundary, chances are they don't know how to do those things themselves. They're feeling triggered by that is them projecting their own stuff onto me, right? They're making what I'm doing about them. And it's not. So I'm doing them a favor of being this expander, this example of someone who puts herself first. Because if I override my response, that is a very clear no in my body. If I override that and I say yes to this person, when it's time to show up, I am going to be an angry, watered down version of myself. That does not help anybody. If I wait until it's a full body yes, you better believe I'm going to show up like in tip top, like when I show up, it's a completely different energy. And when you have a commitment to only showing up in that energy as much as possible, again, that's the embodiment piece. That's when the manifestations just happen, you know? So yeah, it's like, I'm going to tell you no, and I'm going to say, you're welcome. Like, you're welcome, because now I've just given you permission to say no, because most people can't do it. Yeah. They can't say no. Yeah, they're overcome by the pressure.
Yeah. And I do have a lot of generator clients. Obviously, I'm attracting them. But I said the most important sentence for you is, when it comes to commitments, is to say no, but no, thank you. So just like, yeah, it's nice that you asked, but no.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries. Yeah.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
but no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. And in this, like, my utopian fantasy world where everybody lives their design, how do you feel, especially entrepreneurs, can contribute to this change in consciousness, this change in embodiment, everything that follows?
We really have to start with ourselves. And we also, what I've realized is I'm not here to be an activist. I'm not, in the traditional sense. My flavor of activism is, a little bit more self-absorbed than other people's. I'm a 1-3. I'm a manifester. I've got all this individual energy. So, I'm not here to point out what everyone else is doing wrong and try to change that on a collective level. That doesn't do it for me. But that might be some other people's job, but I really think it just has to start with you, and you have to be willing, as an entrepreneur who wants to be conscious and heart-centered and live your design and help other people do that too. You have to understand that everyone's different. You've got to learn what makes you different. You've got to come back to your own self-trust. You've got to be willing to look at all the different places in your business and your life where you've been living out of this ego version or this not self version. Where have you been using marketing tactics that really prey on people's insecurities? Where have you been, either consciously or unconsciously manipulating people? Where have you been, there are so many different practices out there that really are a reflection of the not self or the ego self. And not to say that it's bad. To some degree, we all need to face these parts of ourselves and these parts of life. But if you're not willing to do that, then you're not living your own design. And so you're not being your own puzzle piece. So how are you going to help anybody else do that? You're just perpetuating these not self or ego insecurities and projecting that onto other people. And then they're turning around and doing the same. So it has to start with you. And I think everything else just falls into place. I really do. It's like when I first got into human design, it was very strategic and more specific. And now, years in, I'm realizing it is a lot more flowy and abstract, the whole process. And above all else, it has to start with you. You've got to face all the things you don't want to face. You just have to. If you want to be that whole, embodied, unique, real, true, unfiltered, fully expressed version of yourself, of your soul, you have to face all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you support entrepreneurs or people in general with that kind of work? What are your offers? How can people work with you? And what is maybe say your core mission?
Yeah, my core mission. I mean, it's everything we've been talking about, really guiding people to do that work. And I use tools like Human Design, tools like tapping, journaling, although I don't journal enough myself, but, all these different tools for embodiment, for self-exploration, for, transmuting and alchemizing all the parts, and really seeing ourselves as whole. I support specifically entrepreneurs in doing that. Right now, I'm certifying other practitioners, so other coaches, mentors, guides, consultants. I'm certifying them to use human design in a really embodied way with their clients. So I have my certification Embodied by Design, which is a 4-month program. I do sometimes do one-off sessions. Those are when I feel like it. So I kind of it's random. I'll be like, oh, I want to do a few sessions this month. And I open up space on my calendar. Those are called business awakenings. And I have some new things coming in the works. We're also opening up the doors to my membership, which you were a part of, Inner Elixir. That's going to open up in September. So yeah, I'm a 1-3. So things are always changing in my world. But yeah, I really do feel like I support entrepreneurs and coaches and other practitioners in the process of realizing that you're already whole and just coming back to that space of remembering, just coming home.
We're just walking each other home. Yeah. Ram Dass.
Yeah. And, yes, I do love the business strategy and I have a lot of knowledge around business and can give insights into what works for you based on your design. But that self-trust piece is the most important work that I do. Everything else is secondary.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. At the end, I do have 3 more questions that I know it's a good to have asked. You can answer short or you can go on how you desire, whatever comes up. But these are the same for everybody. What is your biggest dream for yourself?
My biggest dream for myself is to be completely liberated. Just really liberated from expectations from myself, from others, from society, liberated from my past trauma, which never leaves me, but the ways in which it might still control my life, liberated from that, just fully expressed, not hiding anymore. And I think this is something that, I liberate myself a little bit in little ways every day, when I say no, for instance. But yeah, I just see myself as taking up all the space I'm here to take up, and definitely not quite there yet. But I think from that place, that's when I set the example for my children to also be liberated and to also take up space and to be their fully expressed selves. That's where I set the example for my clients and future clients. That's where I set the example for my partner and my family. So I would say that's the most important thing to me, is that I can keep moving in the direction of liberation and radical self-expression.
That's so beautiful. What's your biggest dream for all of us, so the world, to say?
Yeah. The same exact thing. I want that for everyone. And that's, why I want to set that example. It's not just about me. It's about everyone setting that example for themselves and creating this really powerful ripple effect. If we can all do that, if we can all be that, then we can come together in that big, beautiful puzzle we were talking about, and it's not that we have to specifically work together. It's that we take up the space we're here to take up, and we say what we're here to say, and we do what we're here to do, and we explore what we're here to explore, and go where we're here to go. And isn't that so beautiful? If we all just trusted the path, we wouldn't have to fight anymore.
Yeah. Amen.
You're right. Yeah.
What would you like to tell every human who listens, so we can call this dream so that we can manifest this dream together? That's what I wanted to ask.
You are perfect. You are in the exact right place at the exact right time. You are already whole. There is nothing missing. There is nothing that needs to be fixed. All that is required is radical self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love, and just know that you have your own back no matter what. You've gotten this far. You're gonna take yourself all the way. You don't need anything else or anyone else. You've got you, and you're enough.
Thank you. Beautiful words to end this. Or do you have to add anything?
No, I just want to thank you again. I have missed you and our conversations so much, and I'm so honored to be a guest on your podcast.
Yeah, I am honored to have you. And I know we could record like 5-hour podcasts easily.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because like for everybody, I think I told that like in the middle somewhere, we both have this like 2343 channel that connects our mind with our throat. So we can get downloads and talk on end. So, yes. But I know we both have that. So yeah, as I said, we could record 5-hour podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the wisdom that you shared. Thank you for your work. Thank you that we got to meet. I'm so happy about that. And I'm so excited to share your energy, your work with my audience. And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Sarah. So much love for you.
Bye.
Bye.
Das war das Gespräch mit Krystal Woods. Ich bin gerade so energetisiert von diesem Austausch und ich hoffe, du konntest die Energie dieser tollen Frau auch spüren und hast einen oder auch viele goldene Nuggets mitnehmen können. Falls du selbstständig bist bzw. ein Business führst und das gerne auf dich und deine Energie maßschneidern möchtest, um noch mehr Freude dran zu haben, um in deiner Zone of Genius zu leben und zu arbeiten und dabei fürsorglich mit deiner Kraft haushalten zu können, kann ich dir Krystal aus persönlicher Erfahrung von Herzen empfehlen. Und auch wenn du kein eigenes Business hast, lohnt es sich auf jeden Fall, einen Blick auf ihren Instagram-Kanal zu werfen, wo sie Wissen und Inspiration zu Human Design teilt. Alle Links dazu packe ich dir in die Shownotes und die findest du unter sarah-heinen.de/Episode 230. Ich danke dir von Herzen für deine Aufmerksamkeit und Zeit und freue mich, wenn wir uns auch nächsten Sonntag wieder hören. Wenn du konkrete Schritte in eine achtsame und liebevolle Beziehung mit dir selbst gehen möchtest, dann empfehle ich dir meinen Kurs Das Einmaleins der Selbstliebe, für den du dich kostenfrei auf meiner Webseite anmelden kannst. Die findest du unter sarah-heinen.de und Sarah ohne H geschrieben. Dort hast du auch die Möglichkeit, dir einen Termin für ein unverbindliches Erstgespräch mit mir zu buchen, wenn du dir mit einem Coaching Unterstützung für deinen Weg holen möchtest. Und jetzt wünsche ich dir einen Tag voller Wunder und schicke dir eine Riesenportion Mut für deine Transformation. Fang an zu wachsen und blüh auf.